back, my little cyber Buddhas, to
What to watch now,
where we talk about what's streaming on Netflix right now. Cue the EDM music, put on your best squeaky pleather, and buckle up for a prophetic ride, because we are talking about the best action, sci-fi, mind-altering movie alive today. We're talking about The Matrix! Can you tell I'm very excited by my tone? Yes, I fucking love this movie. It was created in 1999 by the Wachowki brothers, which is just a play on words because they're actually sisters. This shit will improve your life in more ways than one. And I'm not just referring to its iconic movie scenes that are beloved and regarded even to this day, even with the CGI that's terribly outdated. I'm referring to its core ideas and concepts that can be applied to your day-to-day life. In this podcast, we're going to answer such questions as, what is the Matrix? Who are the agents? Why is Neo the one? Was the Oracle wrong in her prophecy? And why? So let's start off with a little quickie synopsis. A computer hacker learns from mysterious rebels about the true nature of his reality and his role in the war against its controllers. Fuck, these quickie synopsises suck. Does that not make you not want to check out the movie? Does that not entice you in any way possible? Like I said, just say Cyber Buddha. That alone is interesting. Before we get into all of that, though, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. I fucking love talking about this shit, and I know you do too. That is why you're here. And please consider becoming a Patreon supporter today. I've got a bunch of cool shit I've been putting up there, and if you're into this deep Matrix-y shit, I think the stuff that's exclusively on Patreon will be right up your alley. Trust me. So, what is the Matrix? I can't answer that question without giving you a little bit of background about the world in this current day and age in that movie. So, Morpheus thinks they're around 2199, but because of all the aftermath of the wars between the machine and humans, they're not even exactly sure. This is just like a guesstimate, which I love those little details. Essentially, over time, machines became more and more advanced, and they of course didn't want to be enslaved by humans. And they were being powered by solar energy at the time. But the sky was becoming more and more clouded by pollution, and resources were being soaked up, so they were like, okay, we gotta come up with a new battery. And then it hit them. Humans. Humans are the perfect battery. But to have a good battery, it needs to be healthy. And I'm not just talking about simply breeding humans. Yep, in the future, we aren't bred through sex anymore. I'm sure most humans don't even ever use their genitalia, which is like crazy. It's more than keeping the body healthy with like the proper nutrients. You need to keep the mind healthy. And the mind needs to live in a simulation, think it's free. It's like it needs to know its prison is even there. Which is, again, we go back to Buddhism and stuff like that. It's a great metaphor because a lot of people believe that we are sad or anxious based on our distractions and things that pull us away from being here now. So we're distracted by things we touch, we smell, we sniff, or where our mind is in the future and the past and stuff like that. And that's what the machines are simulating, which is essentially the Matrix. So when we first meet him, he's in the Matrix. He thinks that his day-to-day life is real and that he is unaware of that he's like somewhere in some machine farm somewhere in a weird little red womb tank plugged up through his spine and his brain. I mean, it's quite gruesome. I love how they went about it unsympathetically. So that is what the Matrix is. It's kind of like a giant consciousness, a fake simulation of a consciousness everybody is in. This then leads us to our next question. Who are the agents? Oh, they're so fucking good. I love the slow, sarcastic way of speaking. Oh, so beautiful. So the Matrix isn't without its flaws. People can start to notice something feels off or start to question what's going on. Maybe they notice deja vu, notice glitches or something like that. Essentially, the agents are like the cattle ranchers to the cattle. They are keeping everyone happy. They are keeping you from questioning anything. They will get rid of any little flaws or holes in the system, and they're making sure everything works smoothly. We're going to get into, like, who are the holes in the system, because they are people. But that's their main purpose. They're incredibly strong. They are incredibly powerful. They can essentially become anyone, like take over their body. Because remember, this is a simulation. So no one can be truly trusted in the Matrix. It's a very scary world to be in. But there's a reason why the outsiders or the rebels want to get in the Matrix. They want to free people from this situation. But they are very aware of the risk that is involved. In fact, their whole belief system is, if you see an agent, fucking run, because they are so powerful. They can pop up in anyone's body. They can punch through a wall. They can dodge bullets. You don't want to fuck with them, basically. This then leads to Neo being introduced. Why is Neo the one? The Jesus, the Messiah complex, essentially. Besides the fact that his name inverted is the one. I did not get that for like a good 10 years. Keep in mind, I was a child when I saw this, so forgive me that I was a little slow on the uptake. Okay, we'll just start with Keanu Reeves himself. Often, he is accused of being very emotionless when he acts, and I could not disagree more. He's like one of my favorite fucking actors. I just love him because I think that he has something about himself that he brings to each character. And his being is quite unique. Okay, I'm going to start off with the idea of the flow. This goes back to Neo. This goes back to Keanu Reeves. It's all going to connect. I like to call it the flow. I would compare it to that feeling when you're in love. When everything just seems to go right, time passes by, you forget to eat, you're just so consumed with whatever you're working on. And it doesn't have to be connected directly to something like love or picking a career that satisfies you. It can be just mundane. Time being passed with friends and eating snacks, whatever you're working on. But it's this idea of being so complete. You're just on that right path. You get it. You don't even need to think. You're so in the present. It's what a lot of people work towards. And Keanu Reeves, weirdly, is so in the flow of things. Like, he just gives off that vibe, while simultaneously almost seeming off. Like, he's trying to learn to be human. Like, he's an alien in a Keanu Reeves skin body. So he's got this duality going on with his personality and the way he portrays his characters and responds in real life to things that I find mesmerizing. And if you're going to have someone be kind of above everyone else in the system and society in the Matrix, Keanu Reeves couldn't be a more perfect character to display that. But Neo himself, or Mr. Anderson, Neo Anderson, is incredibly unique from the beginning. You know, initially I even thought he was a Mary Sue type character, and I'm sure many people would argue he is. And it's so funny, I'm sure there's a particular name for male Mary Sues, but I, again, disagree. So when we get introduced to him, he just keeps saying this idea that he confesses to someone buying, I guess you could call them like computer viruses, or maybe they're able to hack into the system with these viruses. Who knows what he's selling, but it's computer-oriented and it's illegal and it's almost like drug dealing, which I thought was so cool and creative. He goes between this life that he's underground, he's sleeping, he's listening to hardcore, Queen of the Damned type metal-y music, and he's selling computer viruses, and he's in the shitty apartments, and he goes to nightclubs decorated in pleather. By the way, super outdated style, but somehow it still seems like fun to experience, kind of like we're all going with a theme. Anyway, he is living this life, and simultaneously he's living another life where he's in a cubicle, he does everything correct. As one of the agents say, he even helps his landlady take out the garbage, but they never directly say it, because he only hints to it. He talks about the idea where he can't tell if he's dreaming anymore, like the difference between when he's awake. And if you notice by the editing, he never really goes to sleep. I think they're trying to create the idea that everywhere he goes, he's in the Matrix, but it almost seems like when he is living this computer-y type world where he's selling illegally computer viruses and stuff like that, that might be his dreaming life. in his waking life is when he's Mr. Anderson in the cubic world. So that means he's already kind of hyper aware. He's transcending. A lot of people would compare this to lucid dreaming, or when you get into astral projecting, it's like you're going beyond your consciousness, what the basic level of being a human and connected to this world is. So I felt like he already had, how do I express this? This is kind of a unique thing to express, but like sometimes when people are meditating, some people just get it. They can get into that experience. They can have a Kundalini experience. They can get enlightenment. They're there. It just doesn't take too much for them to understand the concept. And other people you can explain and explain and explain. It's just they cannot wrap their mind around it. It's like Neo, without even trying, already had a warped way of viewing the world. He already could fathom, especially when he's having that idea. By the way, I totally blocked out when he goes visits the Oracle. There's other potential the ones. He told Morpheus he would be the one to find the one. How many other Morpheuses out in the world is she like, and you're going to possibly find the one. And you're going to birth the one. You're going to date the one. You're going to fuck the one. And they're all just like, they're ready to hang out. When the little kid is explaining to Neo that it's not about bending the spoon, but understanding there is no spoon, which again, when you're first seeing the movie, it seems a little hoity-toity. Trust me, it's not. It makes sense that Neo's already able to get into that mindset because we already have it built up, his way of viewing his dreams and connecting worlds. He already feels that something is wrong. And while Morpheus does talk about that everybody he's saved from the Matrix has gotten that feeling at some point, and he's given them that ability to see past, pull them into reality, pull them away from the machine, save more and more of humanity. The thing is, the way he goes about it is that, next level. So it makes sense to me that he could potentially be the one and wrap his mind about this. It's not just okay, so when he's having that fight scene with Morpheus, they talk about his neuron levels are off the charts. I don't think he actually has a superpower. I just think he was lucky. He was somehow born into a certain level of understanding, and so as you gave him information, he could just receive it easier than other people. So the whole him being the one thing and wrapping his mind around stuff makes complete sense. Now, going a little deeper with that whole idea of what makes him set him apart with the whole making him the one type thing, and why do the agents want him? So the agents are the system they're protecting the Matrix system. They're the bodyguards of the system. But even Morpheus says they have a limit to their programming. The human mind, though, and this is the beauty of the human mind and what a lot of people celebrate and is so gorgeous, is that ultimately when you understand there's no limits, there are no limits. A human mind can go further. And in the Matrix, when you understand that none of this shit's real, it's just a simulation of the mind, and you start to go even further, you can see even further, Morpheus almost makes it seem like it isn't really possible for anyone else to reach the sense of enlightenment in the quick amount of time we need them to. We just don't have enough time. So we need you. We need you to already be there. See that there are no limits. So Neo has the capability to possibly take down the agents, which would then free up being able to save other people from the Matrix, so on and so forth. He would have this ultimate power to free people from humanity because realistically, they just don't have the technology to take on machines, because when they are done with humans... Oh, wait, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. All you need to know is if they can free people, the machines will free them from their machines. I don't know how long term that would work. I think the machines will start eventually killing humans. We'll see how that goes. But all you need to know is by Neo being intelligent with his mind, it can free people from the mind. Did I go a little too rambly there? Did that make sense? You get what I'm saying. Now, why do the agents want Neo specifically? Okay. So you think that when they would get rid of a human, when the human doesn't work with the system anymore, that would be the end of them? Why wouldn't they want to just snuff Neo out? Isn't he more of a blip or a problem? I almost like to think of it as, so machines like to grow and see what's a problem and fix it. If they can see the unlimited potential of Neo, they might be able to integrate that in their system and then basically foresee any possible threat or, third coming of Neo, Jesus, Messiah, or anything. So it makes sense why they want him rather than just simply demolishing him. They want to see what he's capable of and they want to integrate it into the system. So that's why Neo's the one, that's why the agents want him. Now, let's go into the whole idea of like when you want to get into the whole Matrix system. Now, I don't know if there is actually a red or blue pill if we're talking about the world being different, but I think by just Morpheus saying, if you take this red pill, you're going to wake up, it already tells their mind they're going to wake up. So, like I said, in this futuristic world, all the machines are forming people. And when you take the blue pill, because you've already been told this, like I said, it's a placebo effect in this fictional world. You're going to go back to your world, you think the Matrix is real, you're going to be living your life, you're going to have you'll be none the wiser. But the red pill literally actually fucking wakes you up in the farming, creepy world. You see that you're plugged in, a weird squid-like machine that's like checking on all the little humans being grown and used as batteries will find you. And they actually flush you as human. Oh, this is another disgusting fact. They take the old people that are no longer useful as batteries, murder them, liquidate them, and then feed them to the new children. I think Morpheus describes it as like disgustingly efficient. It is. It's gruesome as hell. When he gives Morpheus gives Neo the red pill and he wakes up, the machine, I think what they do is they realize, okay, well, he's woken up from the Matrix. We're not going to waste our time trying to erase his memory. It might not even be totally possible if you already know the Matrix exists. Maybe it's just too much of a waste of time. So they just flush you. They get rid of you. I still think there's a weird hole in the system that they don't murder them and then dump that content out. That feels like a flaw or a plot hole in the whole Matrix story, because apparently when people get old, they feed them back to the humans, which is disgusting. I could understand them not wanting to, if someone like wakes up out of the Matrix, they want to kill them and then feed them to the young. Maybe the worry is through like genes and stuff, maybe by taking on their genes, more people will get awakened from the Matrix, so it makes sense why they wouldn't want to desecrate Neo's body and then feed them to the young. If we're gonna get gross here. It's weird that they flush them down the sewers when the machines know other rebel humans then save those humans and add to the resistance. Seems like a huge plot hole in the Matrix, but I'm just going to point that out. That's why I'm thinking so there are humans left in the last human city of Xeon. So those are where the last bit of humans are left. And agents want to know from Neo, from Morpheus, from anybody, how to get access to Xeon and just get the rest of the humans. No more interference, no more, like one less blip in the world, more batteries for them. Finally get rid of everybody. And then there's a group of humans that are actually born, regularly live normal human life. And then there's humans that are saved from the Matrix, right? Why wouldn't you just, if you feel that somebody needs to be unplugged or has unplugged themselves from the Matrix, why wouldn't you just purely get rid of them so there's nobody to add to the rebellion? Does that make sense? Okay, well anyways, you get what I'm saying. So there's the red-blue thing. That actually leads to Cypher, and why did Cypher betray them? So Cypher is tired of it. He talks about the whole idea over a steak, saying, I know this steak isn't real. I know I'm being told by the program it's delicious. And I kind of want that again. I want to forget any of this is real. I can't give you the passcode to Xeon that can give you that ability and access to the rest of the humans, but I can give you the man that does. And he basically is a fucking creep and betrays everyone, and thankfully he dies off. Don't worry, he dies, even though he murders a couple of his fellow pals along the way, which is like really dark. I mean, he was next level angry to kill people he probably has known up to like 10 years and just to get rid of them in a moment. And it seems like there was no fighting. I mean, they truly did not see this betrayal coming, so that's many levels of fucked up there. So that's why Cypher betrayed everyone. He wanted to go back to the blue pill. He wanted to just move on. He was okay being overtaken by the machines. I think the idea of like giving in to the enemy because he doesn't feel there's any way out, if that makes sense. Going back to Cyber Buddha himself, Neo, he is told by the Oracle, the person that's like the all-seeing prophecy. I wonder why the agents don't take her out sooner. Fun fact, actually, about her, the actress who played her, the last Matrix movie that was made, that was the last movie she was ever fucking in. It came out in 2003 and she died in 2001. Is that not wild? She was gorgeous. You should totally look her up. She was a really awesome actress. Anyways, she technically tells him that he is not the one. that something is in the way. And it's sad because Morpheus will die and will give his life to save Neo, and it all kind of will be for nothing. And he tries to warn Morpheus, but Morpheus stops him. Basically makes it clear that this is only for his ears only, unknowing that his death has been prophesized. And when you learn that Morpheus, who almost on the brink of death, almost dies, Neo successfully saves him. Neo successfully figures out he is the one. He realizes the Oracle was wrong. But was she? This is where it gets really cool. Morpheus says to him, without still knowing what was prophesized, he says, the Oracle told you what you needed to hear. That's what's so interesting. She ultimately not only knows, this is where it gets really like, if we're going to talk about like meta and future telling, she knows that he is the one. But she also knows right now when he meets him, she is the standing person in the way of him becoming the one. She needs to give him the right information to help him overcome the things in between himself and connecting to the person he's meant to be, this majorly powerful messiah, basically back to that idea. Now, moving forward from the whole Oracle concept and how cool that is, I want to just like kind of talk about one last remaining important point that you can take from The Matrix and how amazingly cool all this shit is. Oh, I just love this movie so fucking much. You have to watch it. All the beautiful fighting scenes. Oh my god, that amazing kung fu scene with Morpheus and Neo, and then Neo and Trinity in the bank vault, and all the back-to-back weird little tiny moments of like deja vu, meaning glitches, and them transporting through lines and phones, and the outfits, and they're talking about the loading screen and the dream world, all this beautiful stuff. The main thing I want you to get from this is the idea of the power of your mind. I talk about this all the time on the podcast. I have this belief system that everything we want to be or have, we already are. But there's like 1,000,001 distractions between us and that. Whether it be a petty argument, the daily grind of going back and forth to work, even our belief system, the lack of being open-minded. And I'm not a believer in that whole Buddhist kind of removing yourself completely of distractions. I think you get to a point where you're just an empty void and it's kind of depressing, but then again you remove yourself of the depressing feeling. It goes on and on. I think there's a happy medium between materialism, closeness with friends, and being fully present in the moment. It's that flow I was talking about, and I think true happiness is a mix of everything, truly balance. Buddhism, they think they're achieving balance by removing everything, but I think Buddhism is, like, I think you need to be it's an evolution from that idea. If you can find that sense of enlightenment in your day-to-day moment while being present and having to deal with hard, difficult situations, not being consumed by the dramas in life. It's not about just getting rid of everything. You know what I mean? But that's just me. Anyways, again, belief system, we talk about distractions. So anyways, this movie branches on that topic. Actually, if you want a more direct, kind of like just cut to the point of this type of discussion, definitely check out I Heart Huckabees. If you want me to do a podcast on it, I would happily do it. In fact, I'm going to insist that I will do one on it because it's so fucking good, even though it's not currently on Netflix, but totally should be. So The Matrix is like a beautiful metaphor for this idea. The Matrix is our distraction, what we think is there. We're so convinced because of all our senses being stimulated by like touch and so on and so forth. So we're convinced this is real and what is real is important. And then the underlying the real world, that's what is the core, who we really are. The real reality. But I don't think it makes much of a selling point when the reality fucking sucks. You can understand why Cypher's like, the illusion's a lot fucking better than this disgusting grub. I'd rather have this steak than this weird oatmeal Wheaties type of shit. And, you know, I don't think that makes a great argument, but I think we want to more focus on Neo and what he's achieving. Because what I more want to focus on is the idea that anything you want to get to, you just need to realize it's already there. Like, remove yourself of that stress and anxiety. Now, I know that's like asking a lot. I'm not just saying, turn off your anxiety, because as someone who suffers from anxiety, I really know how hard and difficult that is. But the point still remains that if you can overcome the distractions in your life, realize that the weight is only there because you put it there. Now, keep in mind, I do think that there is, like, tactics to be learned to deal with, like, each thing's like a branching point, a step on top of the other to figure out how can I overcome this to overcome this to overcome this. That makes complete sense. But what I'm trying to say is, if you can realize that the idea of failure, people making fun of you, anybody having power over you, so on and so forth, the consequences of, and this is just one aspect I'm talking about, isn't there. You give it power, not them. Even if 1,000,001 people are laughing at your failure, you give them the power, not them. They don't have the power. You will start to be less afraid of maybe learning something. And maybe if you're less afraid, you're more relaxed and your mind can take on information easier. I think a good comparison of this, and it's going to be a little bit blunt about what I'm saying, but the point still remains. A lot of people talk about the idea that stupid people, I'm putting quotes around this, I don't want to speak about anyone this way, but stupid people tend to flirt with girls easier. They seem to just, no one tells them they're wrong. Maybe they make money easier, so on and so forth. Good at sports. And I think there's a certain amount of truth that they are not even taking in the consequences. They are not smart enough to even think about the possibility of failing. They are just very matter of fact. They're very simple and plain. And now I'm just giving one example. Do not take this into a bigger idea pool. I do not, you get what I'm saying. I think you're smart enough to make the metaphor here. What I'm trying to say is there is not anything between them and their goals. And I'm not advocating for anyone to strip away their intelligence. I'm just saying try to overcome those fears, make that your reality, that like if you can overcome that illusion, that blockage in your fucking way, you are capable of anything. And the beautiful part about it, especially with the I Heart Huckabees kind of belief system and what I'm talking about, a lot of the time it's not just purely like learning a language or a skill. It's this ideal version of yourself. You always think, oh, if I have this, I will be happier. If I look this way, I'll be happier. It's not even about being happy with who you are. It's realizing that your ultimate happiness is right now and everything else is like a beautiful branching off point. I still believe you can be someone who achieves this great sense of happiness and also wants straight teeth or a nose job or something like that. Or wants to have lots of sex, or whatever that is for you. I think there is a happy balance. But the more and more you realize everything is truly an illusion, and I'm not talking on like a we're living in a simulation type vibe. I mean, you can believe that. I'm just talking matter of factly. Things only have the weight to them that you give them. That's the main idea. So, The Matrix is really interesting for bringing up that point if you want to look at it in that way. I don't think it's a great selling point with the real world being, like, terrible and filled with machines and shitty food and stuff like that, but your reality can be a lot brighter in that sense. So, The Matrix is amazing! It's got great metaphors going on. You can fight your own agents. You can be your own inner Neo. You already have the prophecies within you. You already know what to do. It's already in you. You just got to get over your worries and fears, and it's asking a lot. But maybe start off. I'm not trying to turn this into an advice column, but like, I don't know. A lot of people, and this is just like a mini side tangent, but a lot of people believe in the idea that like just get over it, and it's like, bitch, people are trying to just get over it. Take it baby steps. Be like, what do I need to get over this tiny bit of anxiety right now? And work on it bit by bit. You can totally take medication. There's nothing wrong with that if you need to do that. But as you start to work on methods to kind of make sense of it, whether it just be a coping mechanism to the moment, then you evolve to more of like a logical sense of like why you're like, you say the right words that help you understand that you don't need to be anxious anymore, that give you comfort, so on and so forth. You come up with more and more tactics, you could say, to overcome it. Once you remove those illusions in your life, those things holding you back, I think you'd be surprised what you accomplish. But that can go, I'm just focusing mostly on anxiety and depression because that's a huge blockage for most people to experience happiness. But don't forget that maybe what you believe isn't always the answer. Be open-minded to hear all the possibilities. And honestly, if you just believe and relax, and this is a lot to ask of most people, but if you just wing it, you'd be surprised. Like, I mean, a great example, one last example I want to mention is comedians. Comedians work so hard to figure out how they can sound like themselves. I mean, fuck, even when I podcast, I sound like a better version of talking about movies of myself when I'm talking to my boyfriend. And then when I get on the podcast, I'm like just so acutely aware that I'm being recorded. It's like hard to sound like myself. You get little snippets of it when I get really relaxed and I'm talking about it, or fuck, do you hear that plane? I'm always having to stop for planes. That's another thing that's annoying. But anyways, the point I'm trying to say is comedians work really hard to find that loose, like they're just telling a joke at a party, because comedians are their funniest selves when they are just chatting with friends, hanging out. They just let it flow, and they're trying to recreate that on stage. And they're saying, what is in the way of me being able to recreate this? They figure, should I plan out my jokes? Should I work on the timing? Should I just be more relaxed? Should I take something to be more relaxed? It becomes like a whole philosophical debate. And I think people's pursuit of trying to be funny on stage is a great metaphor for people just trying to motherfucking live life. How do I be myself? That's the ultimate question. How do I be myself? So I hope you enjoyed this review of The Matrix. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you better understand how the world works. Because it's a cool movie, but a lot of people leave being like, wait, what the fuck did I just watch? I hope this clears a lot of things for you. And yeah, please don't forget to subscribe, tell a friend, let me know what you think on Twitter, and consider becoming a Patreon supporter today. All the links are in the description below. I love you in the most platonic way possible. Bye!